All right, so Design Studio, if you're able to see on my screen, otherwise I'll share this link with you in just a second. If we're talking about the wordplay assignment where we're learning about modifying typography, level 1, you're really just changing like qualities of the letter itself, but you're not actually cutting into the letter. So what that looks like, if I choose, I don't know, I'll choose like the word bounce. I'm gonna come down here. Whoa. Let me get rid of these actually. I'm gonna make myself a text box. I'm gonna use the word bounce. And first I'm just gonna find like a font that I like. So I'm gonna go to window. It's way down at the bottom. Under type and then character. So this is how you change the font and the size and the weight and things like that. Cooper Black for me looks like a good choice right off the bat for bounce because to me it's just kind of like bubbly and bouncy letters. I'm going to make it big so I have a little more room to work with and zoom out so I can see a little more. I've got to increase the size of my text box so I can see the whole word. And then you actually have a couple different ways of working with this, whether as a new designer working with Illustrator, you can just make a different text box for each letter if you want and work with the text box that way. But that can sometimes be a little bit limiting because the rotate, for instance, doesn't work like rotate. It's super annoying. If you want to rotate a letter, you actually have to use the rotate tool. So that now in Illustrator is R. It didn't used to be that way, but that's when you can actually rotate letters. So you can use each letter as a different text box. Let me show you another thing that will help though in Design Studio, even if you're working on another project. I'd say tune in on screen for this because it'll help. I'm going to select the word. I'm going to go up to Object. And let's see if I can remember, honestly. It should be path. If I do outlines, oh wait, no, convert to outlines. Let me see if I can remember where it is. Type. There it is. Type and then create outlines. So Design Studio, if you have typed in a word, you go up to type, create outlines, and then you should be able to move each letter individually as a shape instead of having to work with it as type. So I would say get to the point where the word looks how you want it to, as far as like the font that you want to choose and the weight, meaning like the thickness, whether it's bold, regular, italic, things like that. And then when you have the whole word selected, remember, go to type and create outlines. It'll turn each letter into a shape. So I'm just going to kind of move these letters around so it looks like they're, bouncing, making the word sound like or look like what it sounds like. So that would be an example of level 1. And I'm going to put that kind of in its own square here. What's up? Oh, yeah. Thank you, Chloe. Another quick thing, just for folks that are working on this that aren't sure, for level 1, you can also change the value, meaning the lightness or darkness of letters. So you can change them in grayscale. We're not using colors yet, but if you did want to make certain letters like lighter or darker, if that helps your meaning, you can.
Whoa.
All right, so level 2, let me show my Design Studio folks. Level 2, when you finish that, and I haven't put it in Google Classroom yet, but I will. Let me pull over the constraints from that assignment. Where is it? Okay. Level 2 is a little bit more advanced, so now a lot more things are on the table. Let me pull these over. And the word choice is a little bit more tricky to do visually as well, so the words get a little harder. All right, so in level 2, you have more options. We can still do all the same stuff that we could do before. So changing the weight and size, letter spacing, rotation, word spacing, um, shifts in scale. So changing the size again, contrast as far as the lightness and darkness. But now we've added cropping the letters and distorting the letter form. So I want to show you that next. I'm going to pick a word and show you examples of what we could do with that. I'll do broken and melt. Actually, I'll do these 3. I'll do them quick. All right, so Design Studio, I'm going to put my word choices over here. You're still going to want to sketch these because it's important to get your ideas out first with sketching. But I am just going to show you quickly because for the demo, we'll survive. I'll start with the word slice. Whoa. I'm going to pick a font that has a good kind of like angular quality first. And also is pretty thick because I want my changes, like the edits I do, to show up. So I'm looking for kind of a thick, angular looking font that will slice up pretty well. Although, you know what, I could use kind of like a bouncy, juicy font like Cooper because it'll still slice well, like kind of a fruit. So let's see. For the sake of simplicity, maybe I will stick with Cooper and I'll try another one for these other ones. Okay. Slice is one of those words I'm having a moment where, like, looking at it, it looks like it's spelled wrong to me, but it's not. I'm just having one of those moments where it doesn't look right. All right, so I've got my word with Cooper. I'm going to do what I did before. So with the word selected, I'm going to go up to type. I can't create outlines unless I have the pointer tool. I forgot that. So pointer tool, type, create outlines. That way each letter you can control on its own. You do have to go into isolation mode to do that. If you don't want to have to go into isolation mode, you can ungroup them. So I can go to Object, Ungroup, and that will allow me to just alter them just like that. So the next thing I'm going to do to this word slice, now that I can actually modify the words and letters, I'm going to create a shape that I want to actually like cut through them. So I'm with the pen tool going to draw a shape that I want to intersect these letters. I'll make it a different color so you can see it more easily. And how I do this, I might have to do it a couple times, but if I wanted to slice through the whole word, if I try and use the Pathfinder on the whole word, I don't think I'm going to have great results. I might have to do it one letter at a time. So I'm going to test. Pathfinder, if I want to remove the front, it only works on that first letter. So that's why I have to kind of go into each letter. I'm going to copy this shape that I'm going to have sliced through my letters. I'm going to go into each letter's isolation mode, Shift-Control-V to paste it in place. Select the letter and that shape I want to cut through it. And remove the front from it, hopefully. What? Something is going funky. This is a mystery. Okay, let's try something else. I'm just going to do it here. So the S and the shape that I drew, I'm going to remove the front. That cuts through the S. I'm going to paste another copy of my shape that I sliced through. I'm going to do my shape and then the L. I've selected them both. And I'm just removing the front from each letter with the Pathfinder using that shape that I drew. Okay, so I've got one slice going through this word. What I can do now, each letter has been sliced through, but the pieces of that letter are still a group. So if I go into isolation mode, I can kind of offset each part of these letters. Another option, if I don't want to hassle with that because they are all grouped, I can ungroup the pieces of the letter by going to Object, Ungroup, or Shift-Control-G. So I can select all these, Shift-Control-G, And now I can just select the bottom half of the word and kind of offset it. So that'll hopefully kind of further give it that sliced look. And if it's not looking extreme enough on some letters, I can kind of push it more. Okay, so that's an example of how you might do something like slice. Obviously, your font choice will look different. What you do to each word will look different. I'll show you one other thing that's possible with this level of the assignment. So I'll use melt. And at this point, I'll just keep using Cooper because it's familiar to us at this point. It gives us a lot to work with. It's a thick font. All right, so my Design Studio people, take a look. This last one we cut through the letters. This one I'm going to start to modify the letter shapes. So I've started with my text box. I have to turn these into objects. So with this selected, I'm going to go to Type, Create Outlines. At this point, each letter is its own shape. And you'll notice if I get my direct selection tool, so the one that I would use to change the handles of each letter, now this is just a path, like something that you made with the pen tool. So I can actually come in with my direct selection tool, and I can start to modify the shape of the letter to make it look like how I want the word to be expressed. So with a word that you've typed, by going to Type, Create Outlines, you've turned this into a path, and now you can modify it in all kinds of ways, just like any other thing you made with the pen tool. So I'm going to start to just make this look like it's dripping. Or make it look like it's melting, I guess, is what we're doing. So just like with anything else that you've made with the pen tool, you can add or remove anchor points using the pen tool. You can convert things to corners. All right, so that was really quick, but you can see how I went in and started to modify the shape of that M so it actually looks like it's melting, and I would do that treatment throughout the rest of the word. So we saw how we use shapes to subtract pieces from the letters. So if I were doing something like bite, I could use the Pathfinder to remove pieces of the letter, like someone took a bite out of it. Pathfinder's your best friend. And anything else you can do with the pen tool or a shape or really anything else in Illustrator you can do to letters once you've turned them into outlines. So that would be the biggest thing for level 2 that you can experiment with when you have your text box going to type and creating outlines. Cool. So I'll stop this recording, but that's what you want to experiment with in level 2, a different set of words, and now being able to distort the letters and crop them and do all kinds of stuff.